Welcome to this tutorial video that explains essentially the Spyder interface and the basic functions you need in order to start coding using the Spyder application. To start with, there are three main sections on the Spyder application when you open it. First is your workspace here, as you can see, and this is where most of your coding would typically take place. So when you write your scripts, this is where they would usually be. Another main section is called the variable explorer, and you can see we've got four tabs here, but one of the tabs are the variable explorer, and this shows a list of the variables or arrays or data you've stored during your code, and this also shows the results of whatever manipulation you've done. For example, I have a sample code here that calculates some numbers for me, and what I can just do is click run just to give you an idea of what to expect. So in the variable explorer, as you can see here, these are a list of arrays that I've created. You can see a single variable called time. You can see from here, so basically here, as you can see here, I calculated the velocity using a for loop in this case and their enumerate function, and my force you can see here are 1 2 3 4 5 values, and I calculated my velocity as you can see here. So it shows me list of data that have been stored, whether from mathematical manipulation or sorting or rearranging data or selecting part of the data. So these are typically what you would get in the variable explorer tab, and there it tells you the type of data you're storing. So in this case, A is an integer data, F is an array of float 64. You don't really need to know that, but just understand it's at least an array. Then this is a list, integer list, array, float. And essentially what a float is that it's a number that you can pretty much change. Then the other thing is plots. So this plot tab here shows you whatever graph you make or whatever graph you plot on your Spyder application. So this is where you typically view them, and from there you can see things like save plot. So you can save the plot if you want to add it to something else, or you can save all the plots. Let's say you've got more than one plot in this list here. So this small section here shows you all the graphs you plot, and it keeps, and this section also keeps hold of the old graphs you plot when you run your script. And here you can save all the plots. Here you can copy. Here you can remove a single plot. Here, this is to remove all the plots. Let's say I've got 5 plots here and I want to clear everything and make a change, then replot all the 5 graphs. I would simply click on this to delete all the 5 plots. Then I'll run it again after I've made my change. And then the other main section is the terminal here. And essentially what the terminal does is that it shows you how your code runs. So for example, when you press the run button for a particular script, it picks up the location of that script in your wherever you've stored it. So in this case, this script is stored under users Toby Henry desktop python practice.py. That's the location. So Python goes in there through the terminal, picks the script and runs its content, and it shows you the results that you've made visible in there. And also, yeah, you would also, let me try and make a mistake here. For example, let's say if I remove my x coordinate, my x-axis in this graph, and I try to plot it, you would also see the errors that are within your script here in the terminal. and because I took out my x-axis, it's saying to me immediately missing one required positional argument, which is my x axis in my plotting function. So if I put in back the value of m that was plotting, or in this case the m array, and I rerun it's fine now. So it shows you the error. The other thing you can do is install libraries or packages that are not essentially part of Spyder when you first set up the app, because typically like your numpy and your matplotlib libraries come pre-installed with the Spyder package, so that's why you don't need to download it. But sometimes you might need to make use of certain libraries and they don't come pre-installed or as part of your Spyder application. Then you would have to go in to your terminal to install it, and typically if you go online to search this, they would literally have something along the lines pip install, then the name of the library to install it. Other basic functions here are, as you can see, bear with me one sec. To open a new file, you basically click on that. So that's the symbol for a new file, and all these things I've explained so far are the same, whether you're using a Windows application, a Windows version, or a Mac application of this, a Mac format of this application. So here it's to go into your file directory to search for scripts that you've written. So similar to Windows, it will open a pop-up menu that would help you navigate into where your code or script has been saved for you to open it. Another one to look at here is the save symbol. So this is essentially to save your Python script as anything you want. Then here we have save all files. Like, do we have got multiple scripts here? Let's say for instance, if I open another one, I can try to save all three files at once. So to do that, I'll simply click that. Then if I go here, this play button is the run button. So when you click it, you'd see in the terminal here my code runs. So that's to run the code. So this is to run current cell. So you can separate things using the hashtag symbol, and you can just run everything after and before the start and end hashtag symbol. So it runs cell 0 in this case. There's nothing there. So this here basically lets you run the current cell, then it goes to the next cell to run it. Here you can select a line, if I'm not mistaken. Select this line and run it. As you can see here, it's printed out what I have there exactly. So you can select a particular line and just run it. And the debug function is to, especially if you've got errors in your code and you don't know where they are, or even though you know where they are, you can use the debug function to run through your code and check for where there are errors or where there are like bugs in your code. You probably hear people say bugs in your code. And you can run current line. You can step into function or method of current line. These are more advanced functions, and they're not necessarily required to be able to do most things you would do at this stage in Python. But the more you get into it, the more you would understand what these things are and what their usefulness is. But at the moment, these are like the base level of functions you need to know and have an understanding of in order to be able to, one, attempt the worksheet that's been provided, and two, to give yourself like a base level of coding in Python. Another thing I forgot to show was this, that in the same way you can import data from different places. So this function here allows you to import data from like maybe an Excel spreadsheet. You can bring them in here, then manipulate them in your workspace or in your terminal, because sometimes you can do coding in your terminal as well if you want to, but it's mostly people that like have a bit more advanced understanding of Python that usually do this. But it's okay if you attempt to do that, it's fine, but you just need to know exactly what you're doing and understand what's happening every time. And here also you can save your data in this case. So the arrays you've created here, you can save them. Let's say you want to, instead of importing them from Excel, you want to export them to Excel, because Excel might be easier to do what you're trying to do. So you can just save them and then open them as a text file or whatever file you want in Excel. And this essentially is to remove all the variables, so it clears the memory, and when I click it, everything should disappear, but your code still stays there. And when you run your code again, they should all come back. And these are the key things you need to know. And one final thing is the location you're operating in. So if you want to work with data that is stored in a particular location on your computer, you can click on that button to set the new location of your directory in this case. So this is what we call a directory. So basically tells you like the location you're working to pull data from. So you can reset your directory to somewhere where you have your data stored, and you can pull from those data through the code you've written here. And this is pretty much the basics you need to know in order to attempt the worksheet, and also like help you further stretch your understanding about Python. I may have stated a few things that are slightly more advanced, but it's just to give you an idea and hopefully give you like a bit more inspiration or like inquisitiveness to go and like try stuff out and look up what things mean. But these are the basic things you require in order to carry on progressing with the worksheet essentially. Thank you.